Hi, welcome to the Chapter 24 video lesson.
This chapter is about an introduction to animals.
It covers 3 lessons: animal characteristics, animal body plans, and sponges and cnidarians.
So the 3 objectives for Lesson 1 are: examine adaptations that enable animals to live in different habitats, and adaptations happen so that an animal can live better in its environment or surroundings. These adaptations include feeding, digestion, and protection. It is important for animals to adapt so that they can survive and reproduce in their changing environment. The second objective is to compare and contrast animal structure and function. So animal structure and function differ in that the structure is a piece of body itself for like bones, organs, muscles, etc., while the function of these structures is like the job, as bones support, organs digest, and muscles move for movement. Together, each structure has a specific function that helps the animal live. The third and final objective is to distinguish among the stages of embryonic development in animals. So the stages are fertilization, 2-cell stage, 16-cell stage, blastula, and gastrula.
There are many different types of animals in the animal kingdom. The 2 main types are the invertebrates and the vertebrates. The invertebrates do not have a backbone. However, these invertebrates usually are covered with exoskeletons. An example of an exoskeleton would be a cicada. It's a little sort of insect, kind of like a cockroach. It has no major bones, but it's covered, the outer shell of it is covered with exoskeletons. However, some of these invertebrates don't all just have exoskeletons. Some still have endoskeletons. An example of this would be a starfish. Even though they are invertebrates and they don't have a backbone, their skeletons are still closer to the inside of their body. Now some of you may be asking, which you probably won't be because you probably don't care, what is the difference between endoskeletons and exoskeletons? Well, the main difference is that creatures with exoskeletons usually have the bones on their body to the outermost side of their layer. Many of these include lobsters and cockroaches and like little insects like that and stuff. While organisms who have endoskeletons have their bones closer to the inside of their body, a lot like humans and bears and stuff. Now we've been talking about invertebrates a lot, but vertebrates, not invertebrates, they do have a backbone and an endoskeleton. An example of that is humans in general. We are all vertebrates. Now I'm sure as many of you know, organisms, including animals, do have to reproduce. In general, this involves a male and a female. Some organisms, such as earthworms, can produce both the egg and the sperm in the same body. These are called hermaphrodites. They can only produce one at a time, but they still need the other partner to get it going. Now the reproduction process is very interesting. It starts with a process called fertilization, and this happens when the sperm and the egg form a fertilized egg. A fertilized egg is called a zygote. This process can be internally called internal fertilization. An example of this would be turtle, because they fertilize inside themselves. Because they have that shell, it's kind of awkward. Awkward turtle.
I like turtles.
However, not all fertilization is internal. Some fertilization is external, and it's called external fertilization. This process must have an aquatic environment for the sperm to swim in. An example would be in a male fish has sperm, and the sperm swims to the female eggs. The fluid of cells formed while the embryo is undergoing mitosis is called blastula. Some of these fluid cells move inward, forming a gastrula. Inside of this gastrulum is an inner layer called the endoderm, and the endoderm makes the digestive organs. The outer layer of the gastroderm is called the ectoderm, and it makes the nervous tissue and skin. Some cell division in animals continue until a layer between the endoderm and the ectoderm, called the mesoderm, becomes muscle tissue, circulatory, excretory, and in some, respiratory system.
For Chapter 24, Lesson 2, the objectives are analyze how animal body plans are related to phylogeny. Animal body plans are related to phylogeny because they come from a certain organism and branch off to develop animals. The second objective is to demonstrate how body cavities are related to phylogeny. Body cavities are related to animal phylogeny because they branch off collimate animal. The third objective is to distinguish between the two types of collimate development. And so the two types are protozomes, where the mouth develops from an opening in the gastrula, or it's deuterozomes, where the anus develops in the opening of the gastrula. So phylogeny is the evolutionary history of a species based on comparative relationships of structures and comparisons of modern life forms with fossils. Basically, it's like a family tree of an animal, so the roots of that animal. Those roots, like how they determine which category the animal goes in, is based off of embryological development and shared anatomical features. So branches on the tree include tissue, bilateral symmetry, body cavity, column, deuterosome development or protosome development, and segmentation. The first level on the phylogeny is symmetry, and symmetry describes the similarity or balance among body structures or organisms that enable the animal to move a certain way. So there's three types of symmetry. There's asymmetry, which is just a completely irregular shape. There's no balance or symmetry. So an animal like that would be a sponge. The second is radial symmetry, which that animal can be divided into many halves or through their axis. So that example would be like a jellyfish. The third example is bilateral symmetry, and that can be divided in half once, so it's a mirror of itself. An example of that would be like a penguin. A penguin has both sides of the same. Those who have bilateral symmetry also have cephalization, which is basically a body plan with a head and a tail, or also the butt. That includes an anterior, which is the head, a posterior, which is the tail and or butt, a dorsal, which is the backside, and a ventral, which is the underside or the stomach and belly. Okay, next in the tree is the body cavities. So it includes the collimates, which is the fluid in between the gut and the outside of the body wall of the animal. And this animal must have bilateral symmetry. The image in between those is the fluid that fills the mesoderm, the muscle layer. And then there's also the pseudocellimate, which is the other type of fluid that fills the body cavity between the mesoderm, which is the muscle, and the endoderm, which is like a digestive organ or digestive tract. Alcalomates, which are animals with no columns, they just have a solid body instead. And then there's also segmentation, which is an animal, an organism that is made up of segments. So that would be like a scorpion. They have like different segments that are all attached together. Now there's two distinctions between the collimate development that we mentioned in the objectives. That's the protozomes, where the mouth forms from the opening, or the deuterozomes, which the anus forms from the opening.
So for lesson 3 of this chapter, there are 3 more objectives. The first objective is to be able to distinguish structure and function in sponges and in cnidarians. Sponges have no tissues, organs, and no symmetry. However, cnidarians have radial symmetry, 2 cell layers organized into tissues, and they have specific functions. The second type of objective that we have is that we have to be able to describe the diversity of sponges and cnidarians. There are many types of sponges, but the three main types are demosponges, calcarea, and and hextalinidia. Five main types of cnidaria are hydrozoa, jellyfish, Scyphozoa, and Cobozoa, and Anothozoa. The third objective is to be able to evaluate the ecology and importance of sponges and cnidarians. Sponges are food for typical fish and turtles. They are habitats for many species, including algae and fish, and they also provide camouflage for mollusks. Cnidarians have a relationship of mutualism, where both organisms benefit. An example of this is sea anemones wrapping itself around hermit crab shells to protect each other.
Sponges feed and digest by a process called filter feeder, where the sponge gets food by filtering particles of water. So how it gets food? The water's flowing and there's particles in the water and it just kind of sorts them out. And adaptions for filter feeding are sessile, which means that they're attached to stay in one place, so they don't move or go anywhere else. And cnidocytes are stinging cells on cnidarian tentacles that protect themselves from prey, so it's their defense mechanism. And cnidocytes contain pneumocytes, which are capsules that hold a coiled thread-like tube containing poisons and barbs. Inside a cnidarian is a space called a gastrovascular cavity, which the mouth of the cnidarian leads to. And cnidarians have a simple anatomy, so the waste also comes through the mouth as well. The cnidarian's nervous system consists of a nerve net, and it conducts impulses to and from all parts of the body. They have no blood vessels, no respiratory systems, or excretory organs. So, like I said, it's a simple body that they have. We interrupt this lesson for a quick message from our sponsor, Silcat. Oh, never mind. Most cnidarian body forms a polyp, which is the tube-shaped body and a mouth surrounded by tentacles. So that would be like a sea anemone, which is attached to the ground. And the second form would be a medusa, which has an umbrella-shaped body and tentacles hanging out. So that would be like a free-flowing jellyfish. So yeah, that was our video, chapter 24, Introduction to Animals. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.